The movie starts with some people having fun at the beach. A boy named Doug is there with his parents, enjoying a holiday. Later, the group reaches their lake house and unloads their stuff. There are lots of boats on the shore. Doug meets a friend who tells him there are many girls around, and they'll have a great time. They decide to go to a bar where a man initially causes some trouble with the musicians, but then starts playing the guitar with a band and everyone enjoys it. Doug's friend makes him wear an apron and says that now summer has started. When Doug arrives home and calls out, he finds no one is there. He goes to his room and starts looking at some pictures. When he looks out the window, he sees a couple, Elite and Lena, who have come to the house. Doug is captivated by Lena's beauty and keeps watching her. When Lena catches him looking, he gets scared and moves away from the window. Later, Doug deliberately takes his bicycle to see Lena and pretends to repair it while watching her. After some time, Doug and his friend take a mat and go inside an old boat, where they hear someone laughing. Doug then returns home and discovers that his new neighbors are Elite and Lena, the couple he had seen earlier. Doug is asked by Elite to work on a boat and offered higher pay than mowing lawns. The next day, while checking out the boat, Doug sees Lena swimming and later taking a shower. Then, Elite notices some cosmetic damage on the boat. Elite says he is going away for a few days. Doug has a conversation about getting paid for a job he did. Elite initially asks for $10, but ends up agreeing to $12. Later, there's a disturbing scene where one Elite tries to force himself on his wife, and Doug feels uncomfortable witnessing it. The next day, Elite has a confrontation with a guard, and Doug steps in to comment on the guard's strictness. Then, the two characters are seen together on a boat, having a conversation about success and money. The scene shifts to Doug, observing Lena leaving a room from a window. After some time, he hears Lena screaming and rushes to her. He finds Lena outside the car, frightened because she saw a spider inside. Doug removes the spider and fixes the car, and while doing so, Lena comes very close to him, making him nervous. He confides in his friend, who warns him to stay away from Lena as he thinks she's dangerous. When Doug returns home from work, he finds Lena sitting outside. She tells him she lost her house key and needs his help to get inside without telling anyone, as her husband asked her to take care of herself. Suddenly, it starts raining, and Lena asks Doug to break a window with a stone to get inside and open the door. Doug follows her instructions and manages to get inside. Lena invites Doug to have a drink with her, and they start talking. Lena notices Doug's injury and begins to clean it, reassuring him that he'll be fine. Doug impulsively kisses her, apologizing afterward. Lena encourages him to try again, and they share a more passionate kiss. Things escalate, and they become intimate. The next morning, they wake up together, and Lena compliments Doug's ability to connect with others. She asks about his romantic history, and they share a playful moment. Doug leaves with a smile on his face, reminiscing about his time with Lena. Doug's friend tries to encourage him to pursue other romantic opportunities, but Doug remains fixated on Lena. He starts working out to impress her, and continues to observe her from a distance. One day, Lena visits Doug while he's working on a boat, supposedly sent by her husband to inspect Doug's work. They end up getting intimate inside the boat after Lena initiates flirting and undresses. Later that night, Doug finds himself working at a bar where Lena and her husband show up. Despite noticing Lena, Doug's friend distracts him with the prospect of meeting other girls, hinting at a promising evening ahead. Doug coincidentally encounters Elite while out on his bicycle. He follows Lena into a shop where they share a secret moment before having sex. They're interrupted by Elite approaching, prompting Lena to quickly kiss Doug before returning to her husband. Later, Elite notices issues with the boat Doug has been working on and gives him praise for his hard work before leaving town for a few days. Doug seizes the opportunity to visit Lena, and they share an intimate picnic in bed. Lena gives Doug a secret phone for communication, warning him about Elite's dangerous nature. Meanwhile, their gardener catches a glimpse of them together in the kitchen. Doug later finds Elite on the boat, where Elite asks him to test its seaworthiness. During the test, Elite narrowly avoids an accident, and Elite offers some relationship advice to Doug. Elite questions Doug about having a girlfriend, to which Doug lies and says he does. Later that night, Lena calls Doug in distress, revealing that Elite has harmed her and left on business. Doug rushes to her aid, urging her to involve the police, but Lena hesitates. Instead, They return home together. After working until the next day, Doug receives a call from Lena, who is sunbathing by the lake. She invites him over, and they share a romantic encounter in an old boat. Lena opens up to Doug, expressing her feelings of freedom with him and discussing Elite's past marriage troubles. Meanwhile, Doug's friend tries to set him up with another girl, but Doug remains focused on Lena. When Doug returns home, he discovers that Elite has returned. Later, Lena urgently calls Doug, asking for his help after a violent altercation with Elite. Doug rushes to her side and learns that Lena accidentally killed Elite in self-defense. They decide to conceal the truth to avoid trouble, and Doug assures Lena they'll find a solution. Doug tries to maintain normalcy, but tensions rise when Lena meets Doug's parents. That night, Doug visits Lena, who apologizes for intruding on his family visit. They discuss covering up the incident, and Doug suggests they claim it was a fight between Lena and Elite before he left. Doug takes Elite's body to his boat to make it seem like an accident. However, he's spotted by guards who mistake him for Elite. Doug plays along and escapes with the boat. The next morning, the police investigation concluded it was an accident. As the police inquire at Lena's house, the consequences of their actions loom over them. Doug watches as Lena speaks with the police, knowing he's responsible for hitting Elite on the head with a beam and setting the boat on fire to make it appear like an accident. Despite his actions, Doug tries to resume his normal life, working at the bar where he overhears policemen discussing the incident. Meanwhile, a woman arrives in the city, representing Elite's insurance company. She informs the police that Elite has a substantial life insurance policy, and the money is slated to go to Lena. This prompts a thorough investigation into every detail of the incident. Lena is called in for questioning, where she denies any involvement in an affair, feeling upset by the probing questions. As the police investigation deepens, they question the guard who witnessed the events that night, and even Doug's father. Suspicion grows, and an insurance agent inspects Lena's house for evidence. She discovers the broken window that Doug had previously damaged to help Lena. The agent then visits Doug's parents, who inadvertently reveal Lena's visit to their son. Panicked, Doug calls Lena, but ends the call abruptly upon seeing his parents returning. They all head to the police station, where the agent interrogates Doug, trying to uncover the truth. However, Doug's mother intervenes, vowing to protect her son from getting entangled in the case. Doug receives a message from Lena, asking to meet him in the old boat. Lena informs him they must stay apart for a few days. Upon returning home, Doug finds himself confronted by a team of agents who collect his fingerprints and saliva for investigation. Despite being interrogated by the agents, Doug remains silent about the incident. Desperate to clear his name, Doug confides in his friend and parents about what happened. Meanwhile, the police find a match with a blood sample provided by an agent. Despite Doug's efforts to prove his innocence, he finds himself framed when Lena accuses him of attempted rape at the wharf. However, a police officer recognizes Doug and allows him a chance to clear his name. Doug retrieves Lena's cell phone, which holds evidence of his innocence, but Lena arrives along with the agent. Doug notices a tattoo on the agent's leg, identical to Lena's, triggering his memory. Realizing he was manipulated, Doug confronts Lena, who ultimately chooses to leave behind her cell phone as proof of Doug's innocence. Together, Lena and the other woman take Elite's insurance money and flee on a flight, leaving Doug behind.